Welcome to SoCal Sports Report's weekly podcast. I am your host, John Stellman. We've done a little shuffling of the roster tonight. Vince Morales has a previous commitment. That's the bad news. The good news is we got my podna from the opening season of AngelReport.com when it was only a audio podcast. Tom Dugan back with us, and we're glad to have him in the chair. He's a baseball aficionado. We're talking a lot of baseball tonight, so his input's going to be very valuable. John Adams, of course, the Iron Horse. He's always here. So we'll get ready we'll get ready with our topics as we always do. Give you guys an idea of what we're going to be discussing tonight. Got to start with Corey Seager's loss. That's a devastating blow to a Dodgers team that had already gotten off to a horrific start. We'll look into that and the ramifications and what that means and where that might lead them. Talk a little bit about the series in Arizona, which hasn't been all that favorable to them. Also, the Angels. We'll look at the Angels. Finally broke the losing streak last night. That was encouraging, but they've got a big series coming up in Seattle this weekend. We'll recap the NFL draft. We'll look at the Rams and Chargers, what they did, and did they make the right acquisitions? Have they strengthened themselves? Does our experts think that they've done a good job with the draft this year? Also talk a little bit about our two local quarterbacks who were drafted, Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen. There was a little difference of the way they handle the situations. We'll talk about their signings and a little bit about the clubs that took the other quarterbacks and if they all made the right picks. Great home opening for the local expansion club, the LA Football Club, MLS Soccer. The Galaxy have been holding up in this community for a long time, but the LAFC looks like they're going to have a pretty nice little stadium and a pretty nice little ball club. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And we'll look, of course, at the quick look at the NBA, although the Clippers are not involved, but still there's ramifications there. Oklahoma City is out, so George now is free to move. LeBron looks like he's willing the Cleveland club as far as he can. We'll see what an early exit by them might mean. And I still have some little talk about the Kawhi Leonard. I know Vince was completely against that acquisition. I'll throw a few things out there. And we can also look at the NHL. Our teams are out, but there's still a lot of interest. If we have time, we'll get to the NHL playoffs. I know that Tom is a big fan, and John has also. Let's start off with Corey Seager. Tommy John surgery, out for the year. It's unusual for a non-pitcher to get, this type of surgery. But he's had this problem since, last fall. He was bothered by the shoulder. In fact, I think he stayed out I think he missed some of the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So it's been around for a while. I know he's a huge part of that team. The impact is going to be tremendous. Where do the Dodgers go from here?
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You'd think they have a lot of horses. They've got as far as in their lineup, but when you lose a player of that magnitude, I know some of the names that are being kicked around as far as possible, viable trade options, and I thought it was interesting. Some of the names they're kicking around, like Lindor and these people. I think bizarre. Simmons, his name's been kicked around. Cozart, just because of the year that he had last year. But then when you start looking at these teams, and again, what would to get a guy like Lindor from Cleveland, who would you give up?
Yeah, he's a franchise type player.
He's off to a slow start, but from that standpoint, you have Bregman from Houston. They're talking about him. I don't know. I mean, it's, you'd think that the Dodgers would have. I know that I'm trying to think of who they have in AAA.
I was going to say who's in the minors.
They just brought him up, and he's hit. I know that he's young. And he was hitting 315, 320, and names escape me. But I don't know. I mean, you look at that bat and that lineup, and and just the whole, there's something obviously off with the Dodgers as far as the whole continuity and
I think
before he went down.
I think you're right, but I think it's an overall team thing. I just don't. I don't think Seager is the kind of is he your future and is he your star player? No doubt about it. But it's not like you're winning and losing games just because of Seager. I mean, there's more to this problem with the Dodgers than just Seager. Now, is he a big loss? No doubt about it, right? Because he's hitting your 3 spot or 2 spot, and
that's an important position.
It really is. And now you're bringing Chris Taylor, who probably hasn't played shortstop for about a year and a half, to come in and play shortstop, and then so three quarters of your infield's gone, right? Because you got Turner out, Seager's out, and I think Kike Hernandez.
They're talking about platooning those 2 guys,
right? So
second baseman too. What's his name?
Well, Utley fills in there, but it's. I thought it was Kike, but whoever the second baseman, Logan Forsythe, he's the one that's out too. So it's just more than one guy, right? So, overall, like, you got to score runs. You know what I mean? So, I heard Machado, but is another guy that they've thrown out there too. But I mean, whatever's going to come over is going to cost a lot of money, and I just don't know if the Dodgers want to spend and deplete something where, to be honest with you, they're struggling to even make a playoff spot right now. Right. So do you want to? Is one guy? Right, you go and just give away 3 players, or go get somebody that's going to cost you a lot of money.
They got a lot of prospects,
right? And you go give away. And then all of a sudden it still doesn't work, right? Because the other guys aren't filling the roles, right? But I think the big thing that they worry about is like you said, bring them up. It's like one guy down, next guy up, right? And that's one of their sayings that they have there. Next guy's got to step up, right? And Robert's going off and telling the Bellinger that you're not hustling. I'm going to sit you. I mean, there's more than just Seager being out or being done for the year. Plus he can come out fast. He can come back faster because he's not pitching. That these kids do come back faster. But again, he's done for the season. Right. But he should be ready to go by spring training. I'm guessing right around there.
Should be.
I think there's more to the Seager thing. There's a lot. I mean, it reminds me of the pitchers for the Angels last year. It's like the whole entire thing was done. Right. Well, that's kind of happening.
And the Angels. I mean, you look at the Angels last year. I mean, if you look at they were in it. I think if the Angels would have done, what Houston did, and they had a shot at Verlander too. I know everybody says, well, could you have kept them? Who knows? I mean, you look at something, they got Ohtani, they got, so, you wouldn't know until you try, but they still had a shot.
They did.
Had they gone after somebody. They opted not to. They decided to look, down the line. And I think to a degree it's paying off somewhat this year. They're solid and they made some moves. The Dodgers, I think if they go with the mindset of we have the arms, because they have the arms.
They do.
They can stick around. They can stick around to, and possibly look at a wild card. Even in that division, it's still, it's a long season. People still, on other teams are going to go down. It's happening. So they can, with their pitching staff, they can stay in this thing. I don't think they should hit the panic button. I think there's chemistry issues going on there. There's some things there. They still haven't solved the whole, thing with their outfield. They had a surplus and they're mixing and matching, and maybe that's causing some angst, but with players, but. They still have a lot of horses.
And Toles needs he's hurt. I mean, he's got to come back up to help that out too. And Puig is he's hurt too, right?
Yeah. Into a wall, so he's on the 10.
So it's like a mash unit, right? Yeah. But so if you can hang in there, right? But the Diamondbacks are for real. There's not not just because you're playing bad, but. The majority of these games that the Dodgers are playing right now, they're losing 5-3, 4-3, 3-2. Like, they're in the games, and it's just being able to, it's like what's happening to the Angels. It's situational hitting. Like, you need to be able to, these pitchers are going to keep you in this ball game because they do have good arms.
Well, and Robbie Ray just went on the DL indefinitely, with the second degree oblique strain.
Yeah.
I mean, he was their guy. He and Greinke. So Ray going out, that creates, it's a long season.
Right, exactly. So if you just hang in there, you know what I mean? But again, they're doing that like what we were talking about last week. It's like, it's in New York and you got the marble and you got to find it, right? And that's what they got to do. They got to just kind of find what's working and then just go with it, right? But I just think they're still trying to figure that
Turner
out.
coming back will help too.
Yes.
That'll be.
He's down.
Big
He's
plus.
actually down in Arizona right now working out. So.
I honestly think that's, I think that's the missing link with him. He's one of those clubhouse, leader guys that just brings energy to the team. When he comes back, he'll bring some continuity. I think I've said all along. I think them missing him. You're missing a huge piece. I think he's more valuable, honestly, than even Seager.
And you never know. You bring up a kid who starts to get hot. And now he's a showcase. Now all of a sudden you could use him for trade bait when Seager comes back.
Yeah.
So bring these kids up and let them try to do something for you. But again, it's just not Seager. It's more than just Seager.
This doesn't.
He's just adding to the fire.
This doesn't help, but it's certainly not the major concern.
One of the interesting names that's come up now is Bogaerts, because the Red Sox, with Bogaerts going down, the Red Sox are in, they fill that gap. They have Nunez there, so they realize, hey, we can, Holt, and they're mixing and matching, and they're playing extremely well.
Right.
Sort of thinking, well, maybe this guy, he's expendable. So that would be the one where I'd say, if they had to pick somebody up and do it, he'd be a guy to go after if he comes back healthy. So.
Yeah. Don't think Boston's going to want to give him away.
Well, I wouldn't.
It'd come at a price, but
yeah.
So the Dodgers started off. They've lost their first 2 games in the desert. They're 9 games back now. But second place Colorado is 6 back, so they're they can still.
Right.
Like you say, they got a shot. I don't think
they just got to play good against the West. I mean, that's what they have to do, right?
That's the trouble. They go to San Francisco, lose 3 out of 4.
Right. And now they're 0-2. Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like the Angels need to do against the East.
You're right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. They've still got 2 more games against Arizona. They could turn the thing around. That's one thing good about playing the first place team. It's like 2 games. I mean, it's just 2 games. You win those 2 games, you're going to be, a lot closer. Obviously. Do you think Roberts is having, this Cody Bellinger thing, benching him for not hustling? I saw his quotes, and I he was he didn't want to make the first out of the inning at third base when you're down by, what were they down? They were down, I forgot what they were down, but he didn't want to make the first out of the inning at third base, which you certainly don't want to do when when you can score from second. At third, you can score on a wild pitch or a fly ball, but still, and he just I don't know. I don't know what if Roberts was in the right there or not.
I just think Dave's trying to make a statement, to be honest with you, that he's this is a part of a frustration that he's he's dealing with, right? And I think he just picked a young guy, and went after him, and it's because the way that Dave played his baseball, was 120%, right? And he always tried to be out an infield hit, and he always played really hard. And so I just think he picked somebody out and that's young and just kind of said, hey, look at, we're not that good right now, which means I need you to give me 150% every single day to try to stay in this thing, right? And maybe kind of getting a little lazy here and there, which means I want you, if you have to take extra BP, you take extra BP. If you got to take extra infield, you take extra. We're not 100%, which means you got to give me 150%.
Right.
So I just think it's his mentality, and I think he just pointed somebody out and tried to make an example of him, and hopefully, the locker room gets it.
And sometimes the media jumps on it too. I mean, it's that something's wrong, and they want to put their spin on it. I probably at this point in time, it could be just a moot point. It's a done deal. Mm-hmm. They're going to go out and play. A guy like Bellinger's as good as he is going to play.
Right.
He's going to go out and
I want to get Tom's take on. He hasn't been here for a while. Kershaw pitched again last night. Now he didn't get the loss. 6 innings. Gave up 2 more home runs. He's given up more home runs this year than. Is he been through another 101 pitches last night in 6 innings? Has he been too overworked to this point? I mean, he's pitching 200 innings every year. He's got, he's been in the playoffs. it seems like he's wearing down at a very young age. It doesn't seem like he should be. I'm not saying he's over the hill, but is this workload starting to get the best of him?
I don't know if it's workload or just we're in an era now where scouting reports and, big league guys and big league scouts and these guys, I mean, as far as they go out, if it could be as simple as him possibly tipping pitches and teams picking up on it, him just doing something, where they need to go back and go to the video and see if there's something in his mechanics. Obviously, if there was something, as far as strain or wear and tear, they would be pulling him back, pulling back the reins on him. Sometimes guys just, he's always been everybody's so used to him getting off to such a great start and being so dominant that when he has a hiccup, it's what's wrong. I just think that, every now and then guys make mistakes. Sometimes, they start catching up to you. Yeah. So he's got to make some adjustments, and that's just the way the game's going. I mean, nowadays it's it's so fine tuned, that hitters have to stay ahead of pitching, and then it comes back to pitching. When they're not sharp. I was watching Verlander last night, and look at the resurgence in that guy.
Yeah.
He was one of the most, if not the most dominant pitcher in the game for a while. And then, he hit that spell. And then, I watched him last night go through the Yankees, and, he's just, you're like, wow,
And I think a lot of it has to do with, a guy like Verlander is pitching on a team where he knows, I can give up a bomb. I got guys that are going to score runs, right?
Right.
So he pitches with a lot of confidence, knowing that he's got a team that can score runs.
Yep.
I think Kershaw is pitching like it's all him. Like he's putting all. It's like I can't afford. Like my losses are losing 2-1 and 3-2 and stuff like that. So he goes. He's probably throwing a lot of pitches because he feels like he's got to put the whole game on his shoulders. Right.
It's
kind of like Sam Darnold did his senior year or his last year at USC. He's like tries to thread needles and he throws pickoffs. Right. So it's just like a guy like Verlander, he works so fast and he just sits there and goes, that's okay. I'm just going to be as aggressive as I can be because I got a team behind me that puts up 5 runs a game, roughly, probably something like that. Yeah. Where a guy like Kershaw, he doesn't believe in what's behind him, and
you look at, again, somebody like Garrett Richards on the same lines, his outing before the last inning and 2/3 that he pitched, he struck out 11 guys and had his first quality start. He's obviously coming off the injury and stuff like that. So, okay, you have a bad outing. Unfortunately, like they're saying, wow, they threw out the L screen on him and, getting rocked. He didn't give up a home run, but he was getting tagged. These guys, they come out. Sometimes they're just not sharp. I have to agree with you, John. I think it comes down to a guy that maybe is being just too fine. They feel like they have to. It's them against the opposing team instead of the 9-on-1 mentality. Yeah. And when you do that, you're not pitching to your full capacity. You're squeezing it. You're gripping the ball a little tighter.
Mm-hmm. Trying to do it all by yourself.
Yep.
Switching to the Angels for a minute, I see where Tropiano went on the 10-day deal today.
After that game last night?
After the game last night. I didn't hear what the...
For what?
I didn't hear. Yeah. All they mentioned was he's on the DL. They got a big series coming up in Seattle this weekend. Seattle's playing good ball right now. They're 1.5 back. The Angels are 2 back. I think they've got Richards, Skaggs, and Ohtani pitching in that series, assuming Ohtani can come back. But I think the Red Sox and Yankees proved the Angels are certainly not an elite team.
Yeah.
They're a solid team. They're a good team. They're going to they're going to win more than they lose. I still think they'll make the playoffs as a wild card. But of course, 2 of the games they lost to the Yankees were both one runs.
Yeah.
One was an unearned run. But still, they're not in that category with the Yankees. Maybe
Boston.
Boston's.
Yep.
How big is this series this weekend? I know Jerry DiPoto would love to.
Yeah.
Would love to beat Mike Scioscia.
Well, I mean, obviously you've seen what they're doing against their division, which is great.
That's huge.
And as far as when they go on the road, they're playing well. I think it has to be extremely disheartening for a team like the Angels to come home and feel like you're playing, like you're playing away. Because I was at one of the Boston games, and there were more. The Boston chants outweighed the home chants.
It's like a Blackhawks.
Yeah.
It's like a Blackhawks Ducks game.
Or Red Wings, same thing. You see more red and white and black and red.
Heck, it's like a Kings Ducks game. Yeah, there's another one.
And so that kind of lets the wind out of you. So I know these guys are professionals; they should play in spite of that. But
the Angels are used to that. They're 11-2 on the road and a losing record at home.
And I think there's a lot. Having played on the road, there's a lot of truth that they're more relaxed. You're not having people in town asking you for tickets. You're not if the baby's crying at home, and why that whole thing. You go on the road, it's a different environment and stuff like that. So. It's kind of interesting. I mean, like I said, Seattle is solid. I think again, it's a timing thing. That division, I think that division's up for grabs.
I do too.
And I think the Angels, if they can, they're playing solid. I think they've, although it's disheartening to hear, Tropiano goes down. It's.
I know Middleton is one on the 10-DA. I know that's going to be but I mean, it was a little. I almost felt like you watched the game last night. I felt like he overcoached a little bit. He had Tropiano was throwing a one hitter into the 7th inning. Right. He's at 88 pitches, and you're looking at a bullpen that has just been absolutely worked like no other, right? And you pull them, and in the next 3 innings, you use 3 other pitchers from the bullpen that is depleted, right? Mm-hmm. So I really didn't understand that, but now maybe he whispers something into the guy's ears saying, "Hey, look at something's not feeling right," and now here he is on the DL. Where I was sitting there texting buddies, I'm like, why is he pulling him, right?
Yeah.
But then he brought in Anderson. He just blew these guys out of the water, right? Which that kid's got some
Alvarez
lively stuff,
job,
right?
yeah.
And then Alvarez did his job, and then but I'm like, but Alvarez could have closed. I don't know, but I mean, you got guys down there throwing a lot of innings, and if you can get them rested, let alone your closer, as you're going to call him, is on a 10-day DL, and you're going to go use 3 other guys. Now, hindsight now, this guy's going on the DL, and is it a DL or is it 10-day?
I think it's 10-day.
Okay, so I don't know if these guys got tired arms or what's going on, but it's funny how this thing's a 6-man rotation, but it's turned into a 5- and 4-man rotation real fast.
Yeah.
So, it again, you got to continue to beat your guys in your division, which is what we've been doing. I think if if he's already hitting, he's going to be fine to pitch.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to take him, week by week and month by month, and they're going to baby this kid as much as they can baby him. You can already tell, like, just a little bit of a sprained ankle, and he's out for 4 or 5 days, right? So, but I really think, and I think you can understand this. I think we talked about this in the past. It's very important that Justin Upton hits the ball, right? You're going to live and die with this guy,
he was
right?
Terrific last night.
He's not very good defensively, right? And you're putting him. I think he had 5 guys in scoring positions going until the 9th, right?
Yeah.
And it would have been more.
Yep.
And thank God the guy hung the curveball, right? But other than that, like, if he hits. You see him. They just walk Trout. Like
they walked Trout 3 times,
4 times last night.
3 intentionally.
But the 3 intentionally. Like, no problem. Go ahead and beat me, Upton. Right?
Yeah. Well, Upton, he's kind of proven. He's the kind of guy that he's played for the Braves. Last year the Tigers, and for teams that they seem to be out of it fairly early. There's not a lot of pressure, and then you come into Anaheim. And you've got Trout and Pujols and Ohtani. You got you've got some names there, and he signs for the money that he gets the big contract, and then you start pressing. You feel like you have to produce, and he's definitely obviously the numbers he put up last year combined between Anaheim and Detroit were solid. So it's there, but again that's where these guys, as far as again with the scouting department stuff, if they find a weakness and a team can pitch to that weakness and you can't make the adjustments,
it's something you got to think about. Do you put Calhoun in the 2 spot and move Trout to the 3 spot and push him down to the 6 spots to maybe get better pitches?
Agree.
I mean, it's something you got to think about.
Calhoun is awful. He's at 170 or 140 or something.
And again, that and I again, last time I was here, I would always bag on Socha, and I try to get away from that. But again, he's such a by the book guy. He to a fault, he sticks with something and trust. I think he trusts his players too much instead of managing. I'd love to see him maybe go with his heart more and do that. Start shuffling. Again, keep Trout there and put Pujols behind Trout in the 3-hole.
I wouldn't mind seeing Ohtani in the 3-hole.
Well, Ohtani was in the 8-hole and he was doing a great job. So why? I mean, if it's not broke, why fix it, right?
They moved him up. He's still
now he's in the 6 or 5 spot, right?
Yeah, but
sometimes you just gotta mix things up, and for the sake of just change, and because again, Calhoun, we know he can play. Upton, should be able to contribute. So who knows? I
just noticed it. I mean, that kid's going to have to hit for us to score runs because they're going to try to pitch around Trout all day long.
Right.
And you got Pujols. The only way he's going to hit you is if you make a mistake, right?
Yep.
But he can get it kind of around him too. So those 3-4 spot's very important. And right now it's mediocre at best.
Yeah.
So. I think when the Angels were winning a lot of these games, it was being produced by Ohtani going to Trout, right? Yeah. So that's it was almost like the 7 through 2 spot was actually doing all the work.
If you can't get somebody to protect Trout,
right?
You're killing yourself. But
you'd be in trouble.
But when is Albert going to get? He's going to get 3,000.
Yeah,
I mean, is it going to?
Got 4 to go, and he's got 2 games to do it. If he's going to do it at home,
3,600 is.
I'd like to see him do it.
That's a small little category of guys.
4 guys.
Yeah.
He'll be the 4th.
Heck, and then we had 2 guys? We had
one guy was juicing, so right?
Yeah.
So
And then we had 2 guys today. We had Encarnacion and Betts both hit 3 home runs today in the game. So pretty cool.
And Pollock did it against the Dodgers, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
4 home runs in 6 games.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
No, those baseballs aren't wound tight. No, not at all.
No chance. No chance.
Yeah.
I saw an interesting thing in the paper today that first time in baseball history they've had, in the month of April, they've had more strikeouts than base hits.
Mm-hmm. And I think they have 2 guys over 40 strikeouts already, right?
Oh, yeah. I know Stanton does.
And
Judge.
And Judge, yeah.
Both in the Yankees.
More strikeouts. I'm sure that...
and only 2 back from Boston or something like that.
One Judge is still hitting over 300.
Yeah.
So...
Let's switch gears to the NFL draft. Rams and Chargers. I like the Ram picks. I mean, their first 3 picks were, a tackle, a center, and a defensive end, but they grabbed 4 linebackers, and they lost, Ogletree, Quinn, and Barwin. The only starter back is Mark Barron. So they grabbed 3 linebackers, or 4 linebackers actually. That should strengthen the defense. What are your thoughts on their acquisitions?
Yeah, they did a couple. You could tell. They lost a couple of linebackers actually in free agency and stuff. So
right.
You could tell they were very active from the 4th through the 7th round. And filling, trying to grab 3 or 4 linebackers to try to fill that void. Obviously, it was very defensively minded in this draft. But the kid Obo, I don't know how to say this. With the kid from Oklahoma,
right?
He's a pass rusher, so that's going to help out a lot. Obviously, your first 2 picks right there is to try to protect Goff, and go depth there. I'm really curious to see how the Johnny Kelly pick up, the running back from Tennessee, who could fit in that thing with Lance Dunbar and help Gurley get some time, a little bit of rest, right?
Yeah, that would be helpful.
But other than that, what they did in the offseason is more or less, kind of putting it all on paper and kind of making sure that, here's our security blanket. Maybe some of these guys can help out, So, you can never have enough offensive linemen.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And defensive linemen. So, they're so good defensively, and they just got better, especially on the cornerbacks and stuff. So,
I think it's funny. I think the Sporting News gave them a C draft, but the Rams, and then but they said that based on what they did in the offseason, it really didn't matter.
Right. No. So it's almost like they
just getting some depth there.
If you look at what they did in the offseason and get this draft, it's more like a B plus, A minus draft. You mean, to be honest with you, right? Yeah. It's kind of like we'll go on the Chargers, but it's almost like Williams and Lamp were hurt the whole entire season last year. Yeah. Go throw those guys into this draft. Now this is a really good draft that they have, right? Because Lamp never saw the season, and Williams only saw the last 3 games or something like that, and he played here and there, right? But getting back to the Rams, I thought, they did their homework, and they're just trying to strengthen that offensive line and strengthen the defense, which the defense is just crazy good.
Yeah, defense is already good.
It's just gonna. So I think they did a great job by helping out Gurley, because he can't run the ball all the time, right? Mm-hmm. So it's what he's the kid Kelly's 5'10", 216 pounds, so he's going to be able to pound the ball for you a little bit, I just don't know how he is out of the backfield catching the ball. I think he's going to be more of a, more or less trying to punish the line a little bit and help him out when he needs rest. So
their first pick, that the tackle, Joseph Noteboom
from TCU,
TCU. He could see some quality time.
And the guys, I looked at it, the tackle from TCU, the center, these kids are big kids. They're like 6'5", 315. They're big kids. So it's not like they went out and got a little guy. That's for sure. So everything's now, and I'm just noticing, is it's like, it's all about how fast are you on defense. It's funny how, we talked about the draft last week, and you're sitting there going, this guy wasn't even on the radar, and he got picked 1 by the Dallas Cowboys. The kid from Boise State, right? And they're all thinking tight end. They're thinking something like that, and so you can never guess right. I mean, it's absolutely impossible to. I mean, it's like, what is it? Berkshire Hathaway does that deal for $1 million I told you guys about, for picking the first round of the basketball tournament. Yeah. You might, if you could go ahead and put $1 million from that, because you got no chance, right? So, but overall, I think they just kind of put more depth in what they need.
So what they need, sure.
I think they did a good job.
Yeah. I think the Chargers got it rated out as an A.
By
their draft. They had Derwin James, they think was lights out, and they couldn't believe that,
They came to him. They were saying it's going to be a top 10 pick, and they dropped all the way to him.
That was great.
So they're loving that, and they're possibly, they're talking about a possible playoff game at the StubHub.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and we talked about it. I mean, they were going to be very defensive minded, right? The whole entire deal, right? And that's exactly what they did. I mean, safety, linebacker, defensive tackle, linebacker, and then they went with the center from UCLA. But I mean, then they, and then the wide receiver. So interesting note. I don't know if you noticed this, but the Chargers actually went out and got 21 undrafted free agents.
I saw
right?
That.
One of them is the Texas Tech quarterback, who actually they drafted Dylan Cantrell, which is a wide receiver from Texas Tech. So I think they're actually going to test this guy out to possibly, be one of these quarterbacks. But the kid, I looked him up. He had it. Where is it? He threw for a ton of yards. This kid at Texas Tech. He can sling it. Yeah. If I can find it. But he was here it is right here. Nick Shimanek, 328 of 493 for 3,963 yards.
Almost 4,000 yards.
And he threw to this kid Cantrell, who was 6'3", 226 pounds as a wide receiver. So he's a big guy. Wow. So what they're talking about is they lost Gates, right?
Yeah.
They asked Gates to go, and they're going to probably put him and Henry to go run these routes that Gates used to run inside the red zone, because he's big enough to push guys away and get space. Instead of doing that wide receiver stuff, he's not that agile to go do that. So I don't know if he's going to be a wide receiver that comes across the middle and be able to take on a linebacker. I mean, a wide receiver at 226, it's a big kid, right? So, But it was interesting how I started reading more into it, and I'm like, oh, they went out and got this quarterback that this guy used to throw to.
Yeah.
So, because that's just telling me that they're not happy with either Geno Smith or the kid from Ohio State.
Yeah.
So,
I thought it was interesting the Jets got rated out as a C.
oh, really?
Yeah. Anyway, I guess they weren't too impressed with, just the fact that they went and got Darnold. But,
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, I think goes back to what you said about speed. These guys, as far as Rosen and all the guys coming out, when you get to the NFL and the game speeds up, that's just it. It's all about speed, power and speed.
Power and speed, right?
Yeah.
So that's why they were so happy to get James, because our defensive coordinator is the old defensive coordinator for Seattle, and he said this guy's a spitting image of Cam Chancellor.
Oh.
Right, so
That's all you need to know.
they say he's fast enough to big, and you can slide him up in a linebacker spot
Yeah.
and be able to take on a tight end or run with a tight end. So, and then they went out and got the other kid from White from West Virginia, who's more of a floating kind of safety that can come out. But I hear both of these kids can knock your head off.
That's the thing. It's funny. It's funny when you go to a high school football game, and then you go, to a college football game, and you see, we had at the high school I'm at, we have a kid that ended up going to a D1 school as a quarterback. He got, recruited by Boise and New Mexico and stuff like that. And Air Force and you go to these games. I try to tell them, have you been to a college game yet this year? Other than going into town and doing your visits. I mean, they're men. He's an 18-year-old kid, and I went to a Division II. I go to APU and watch them play, and these guys are 6'4", 6'5" with beards, and they've got their man muscles, and for a high school kid to come out there and think you're going to go out and they can run you down. These are linemen who can run you down.
Yeah.
I mean, I always thought if my quarterback in high school can't get outside on the high school guys, you're really going to struggle if in college.
Exactly.
If you think you're going to get to the next level.
18-year-old kid seeing a fifth-year senior.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
Welcome to college football. Yeah, exactly.
So when they go from the college to the NFL, it's even more wild to sit there and think of these guys going there, and you have 320-pound linemen that can run down a linebacker. And run down a tailback.
Yeah.
Or linebackers that can run down receivers, and you used to think, holy cow, it's crazy.
The Chargers, I like the pickup from Nwosu from USC.
USC, yeah.
I really do,
Tackle.
because they want him to kind of be the guy that's floating. Because the kid Jones is going to be that nose tackle that's going to help Ingram and Bosa, right? But the kid Nwosu, I guess he's going to be a floating kind of linebacker. He's going to be a freelancer, and that's where he's really good that way. So. I like what they did. Obviously, it's like he said, they're getting B-, B+ to A- on their draft, and they talked to Telesco and they said, hey, look, why didn't you take a quarterback? And he says, because at the time that we were thinking about getting a quarterback, it really wasn't relative. We need to fill it with another. There wasn't that wow factor. Like you had 5 guys go in the first round, and those 5 guys are those 5 guys, and you'll be able to. Yeah. Which tells me that they went and got this undrafted free agent. What tells me is they're willing to go get one of these free agent quarterbacks, like that is a free agent at the end of this year, and maybe get somebody to kind of fill that void. But I don't know. But Phillips got what, 2 more years? Probably, I think maybe So. Yeah.
Their defense was good last year.
Yeah, I mean they were in a lot of games, right? Yeah. But remember, it was our kicker that killed us, right?
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Or kickers, I should say.
Yeah.
So I like that they picked up a center, because we usually go through centers like Quaker has oats. So actually, overall, you're probably some of your 2 best defenses in the NFL are going to be in the same town.
Could be very well. Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
How'd you like about Rosen's whining? About being number 10.
For some apparent reason, it didn't surprise me.
Oh,
right?
No, it didn't surprise me.
It didn't
at all.
surprise me. I saw them all interviewed. 4 of them interviewed, and they were talking just generically about, what's been the hardest thing and what's been, you know, the best thing about going through this process of the draft. And you know, they were honest about, and then Rosen just goes, there's nothing, I expected all of this. And it was very cocky, right? It was very confident, cocky, right? So, you know, Sam has answered everything because we know Sam from the town and San Clemente and stuff, and he's answering everything, and he's living like he hasn't changed. You know, it's a good family that he was brought up with, and you know, he learned a lot at USC and a good family there. And I think the Jets are ecstatic, to be honest with you. And I'll tell you right now, he couldn't be happier to have McNown on his side. That scared me a little bit because this guy, Cade McNown, and he's known for helping young. He's a team guy, right? He knows that, you know, he's in the league because he helps other guys, and he's not, you know. But a guy like Rosen, he could play. I mean, the guys that they have down in Arizona are fragile as fragile gets, so he has a chance of playing like this year.
Yeah.
Well, I think what Arizona has Bradford, right?
Bradford,
give him 1 week and he'll be out.
I mean,
and then the other guy that they have down there is the guy that was the quarterback, Glennon. Mike Glennon is the other guy.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you know, Bradford being in the same boat, you know, being a top pick, and I mean, he has, you know, he's been there for he's been in the league for 8 years. So I mean, he obviously, you know, by right should be the guy, but you know, you got to be careful when you open your mouth so soon and come out there again when you haven't played it down. And you know, I think there's something about being humble. And
so who was the guy that was the rookie that was opening his mouth a couple years ago? Johnny Manziel, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's easy about this is he's in Arizona. If he was opening his mouth like this and he was in New York,
be crucified.
He would be just done, right? Yeah. But he is coming from a big area, going to a little area in Arizona. I think it could have been it's a perfect fit for him.
I think I'd much rather play in Arizona than New York.
That's what I didn't get. I'm sitting there thinking, one, you're a top pick. I mean, you're a top pick. What are you complaining about?
Exactly.
You know, the fact that you're going to have an opportunity, of shedding the clipboard, you know, fairly soon and getting out there and getting some reps. You know, I'd be as happy as can be. But,
exactly, yeah.
Plus your travel.
They've made 9 mistakes ahead of me.
Yeah.
Like, wow. You were never even thought of about being the first pick. Like, you weren't even thought of being the first pick. And now they're saying you made 9.
Not the best quarterback in your own town. You know?
That's right, yeah.
Right, exactly, yeah.
So...
Yeah, he's gonna. I think he's in a much better situation especially playing in the NFC West.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, you don't have the bitter cold.
Yep.
You know, New York, you go to New England, got to play, New England twice, Buffalo,
Jets.
The way history is showing, it's never the top picks, the number one picks that go on to. It's the guys that it are the guys that all of a sudden you found out that didn't get drafted or were 5th round picks like Brady and these.
Well, that's what we talked about last week. I mean, I go, you name other. I think Rivers was a top pick. And I was thinking about, Eli Manning. But name some quarterbacks that are a first-round draft pick that are in the league winning Super Bowls. There's not it's not a lot of them, right? Mm-hmm. It's very, Wilson was playing baseball and then he decided to play football and transferred over to Wisconsin. And, it's how you work, how you prepare yourself, and how you learn from the coaches. And Johnny Manziel said that Cade McNown it's Cade McNown, right?
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Was the biggest help that he ever had.
Yeah.
So that's good to hear that Sam's going to be taught by one of the best guys. So.
Yeah, and Vince said last week that Cleveland would not be a good fit for Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Not be a good fit.
Yeah.
I don't know that thing. That franchise is so messed up.
I had heard rumors actually on the radio this morning that when
are these confirmed or unconfirmed?
Unconfirmed. That the Patriots wanted the kid that went 1. They wanted him.
Mayfield?
Mayfield. So they wanted to trade up with the Giants. But then when they found out that he was going 1, then they backed off. So they wanted him too. So they were trying to stir that up to hey, Brady. Oh, they were actually thinking about going out and getting a quarterback in the first round. How do you feel about it? Because he wants to play 2 or 3 more years, right?
Check with Brady before you do that.
So, they were trying to. They had made the phone call to the Giants saying, "Hey, look, we're willing to dump some stuff here if he doesn't go 1." And then when he went 1, they backed off. So that was interesting if that's true.
Yeah.
Well,
as long as Tom said it was all right, I guess it's all right. They still made a mistake getting rid of Garoppolo.
Yeah, I agree.
That's their franchise player of the future.
Yeah.
That was
They were just gonna have to pay him too much money. So.
I don't think they've. I don't think they're hurting for money too much over the last few years. I think
you're right.
they've pocketed a few dollars along the way. Anything else on the NFL?
No. I'm glad that's over with, though.
Yeah.
Need to rest.
Yeah, ESPN milked that for whatever they could get out.
Jeez, no kidding.
I don't know if you guys watched any of the LAFC opener. I was never really a Galaxy fan for some reason, even when Dave Beckham, Beckham was here. Yeah. But I've really become attached to this. I just like the atmosphere. I like the way they went about it. 20 months between demolishment of the sports arena and the dedication of the. I mean, they don't mess. This is unlike San Diego, which 13 years later still can't figure out where they want to put a stadium.
Yeah.
But the way they did it, the front office, the enthusiasm, they had all kinds of fans out there.
It was crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's very electric and. Obviously, the city of LA is loving it because they're going to use that as a venue for the Olympics down the road.
Right.
But I heard that there's restaurants and bars throughout the whole deal, and it is a phenomenal place to go watch. They got Hollywood behind it, with some owners and
29 owners.
Yeah, 29. Wow. Yeah.
Including Magic.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Shocker, Magic as an owner.
It's fun. I was up in Portland a couple weeks ago, and the Timbers have their stadium, and they do well. And this, like I said, it's kind of neat to see how teams can revitalize an area.
Yeah.
I know
Seattle does a good job too with their soccer team. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And even on a different note, and I'll do my shameless Winnipeg Jets plug. But when my daughter was dancing in Winnipeg, and the first year there was no team, and then the next year the Jets came back, it changed the whole face of that city. It was a dingy, the ballet was all they could hang their hat on. And then all of a sudden the Jets came back, and
that place is
it's
crazy.
Rabid. It's absolutely rabid.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's fun. I mean, I watched the highlights from last night's game, and to see them down 3-0, but the same thing with soccer. In LA, and we have this community. In California here, it's ripe for that. Now 2 teams now. Between the Galaxy and the LAFC is just it makes it fun because I think they'll draw 22,000 I think is capacity.
And it's obviously Southern California is very Hispanic, right? And that's their sport, right? So it's like LA can have 2 football teams, they can have 2 soccer teams.
I think they said they had 47,000 for the first weekend. Both the Galaxy and the LAFC were sold out.
Oh yeah.
In fact, they
great support.
They cut off their season tickets at $17.5. Just to make sure there was tickets left over for the guy that wants to go out, the occasional fan that wants to go out once in a while. But they were 22,000. The other guys were 26 or 25.
Yeah, and they were. I mean, and people got in early. And
30 to 40 minutes early. They were in there. Just place was going nuts.
No late arrival, early departures.
That
game.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of. I'm doing something on the LAFC, and you mentioned what they've surrounded the stadium, but they've got. They've got a 5-story retail, very lavish shops and eateries, and they've got 5-star hotels down there. And I mean, it's really going to. Plus, you've got the ESPN zone there. You got Nokia Center. The Staples Center, of course.
Right.
And I think there's a Grammy Museum downtown. So that area is going to be really revitalized, and this is a big push, and it's going to be a big help. I was glad to see that thing. That's a beautiful stadium.
Oh no, it's state of the art. It's state of the art. Yeah,
that is a tremendous stadium.
Now if the Lakers could just you could bring in somebody.
They won their home opener 1-0, and they're just 2 points behind Kansas City now. for first place in the Western Conference. And the only difference is they both got the 5 wins. Kansas City's played 2 more games, and they've tied both of those games. So the Kansas City 17 points, LAFC 15 points. They should have won that game against the Galaxy.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
but I'm glad to see them get off to a good start, and I'm glad to see both of them drawing well. And like you say, it's you got 2 football teams. There's no reason why you can't have
2 basketball teams, 2 soccer teams,
2 college football teams, 2 hockey teams.
Yeah.
Switching to a little bit of NBA, a lot of rumors floating around now that Paul George is on his way to LA now that the OKCs were beaten by Utah.
Yeah.
It's time to move. It's time to do that. And I haven't seen anything in the media that suggests he's going to stay in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think I know that there's been talks of saying, hey, look, we'll bring some guys in and make this. But I mean, it was I just think that Russell just tries to put the whole game on his shoulders, starts making, shooting stupid threes. I don't think it's disciplined at all. He tries to win the whole thing by himself. And I don't know if Paul George wants to play that game. Yeah. I don't care who you bring it in. It's still Russell's team, right? Yeah, and
exactly. Yeah.
So I think, and plus he wants to be back in LA.
Yeah.
But again, I think the big thing here is what you it's very young here, right? This team's very young. So what you're bringing in, is it going to be LeBron? Is it going to be George? Can you bring the 2 of them in? Is there going to be somebody else that's going to help? I don't know, but George is going to have he's going to have
somebody else.
And I don't know what the situation is with the Leonard. I know you're going to talk about it, but there's going to have to be 2 or 3 players, that help him do this. Yeah. So, and I think he's just sitting back and probably talking to Magic and kind of saying, what's your strategy? And obviously they probably don't talk until the whole thing's over with,
right.
So I think it's just a wait and see. I think Magic knows where he wants to go and where he wants to be there. But again, he's going to have to see everything on paper, or he's going to have to say, okay, we'll bring you in first and then bring you in second, bring you in third or whatever. But I don't think George is just going to come to just join this young squad.
He's going to wait and see who.
Yeah.
Like you say, he won't be the first guy in.
No.
You'll wait and see who they bring in.
I don't know if you've seen the sign. I don't know if it's. I'm trying to think. The LA. It's LeBron.
Yeah.
And the purple and gold, and it's something to the effect of, we don't care about playoffs. We want banners.
Yeah.
So I just thought that.
I still don't know. I still have my second thoughts about it. I mean, as great as LeBron is, he's, the other game the other night, that Game 7, where he played
46 minutes or something.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in the playoffs, 7-8 straight years. That's an extra, 15, 20 games. 32 years old, 33. If they're going to give him a 5-year contract, I don't know. Last night he had to save him again.
But it's guys like LeBron, though. They need that. It's like I said. You've done it in Cleveland, Miami, and yet. There's the 2 teams that if you really ever want to do it on, would be the Celtics or the Lakers. I mean, those are the most storied franchises out there. So
exactly,
you start looking at that thing, and there's just something about, if you're going to end your career, it's like the pinstripes, wearing the Yankee pinstripes. So you're going to, even if you play 1 year with the Yankees, you still got to go out and somewhere down the line on an old timers day, and you're out there with, some of baseball's best. But, you look at the Lakers, and for a guy like him, it wouldn't be a bad thing for him to say, I want to end my career there.
He's got 2.
Plus, he owns a place up there.
He's got 2 homes. He's got 2 homes out here, and he's already talking to. He wants to be a businessman. He wants to follow in Magic's footsteps. Mm-hmm. He's already had conversations with Magic about business and starting a career in that area. This will be a great town for him after his playing days are over. Plus, he'd get a few more endorsements, I think, out here.
Oh, yeah. It'd be easy.
With the Sprite commercials and everything else he's doing.
But again, it would be nice to play him, 30 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but he's going to need help with that. And can they put it all, together? That's they're still looking for puzzles, right? Pieces for the puzzle. So,
you want to get
and I agree with Vince. I mean, if you can get Ball out of here and you can get some great players in for him, I'm open for that, right?
Again,
you want to get LeBron, guys like George and LeBron before their Malone and Peyton days, I mean, you want to get him before the end.
George is still young. He 27, 28?
Oh, yeah.
He's young.
Yeah.
I would like to see Kawhi Leonard. And another thing, I would hate to see them lose Julius Randle. He's $14 million.
Right, and he pushes people around and he gets things done. But
if they bring in those two guys, I don't think they can keep Randle.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. Yeah.
I would like to see them, like I said last week, I would like to see them sign either George or LeBron, re-sign Randle and trade for Leonard, because Leonard's not a free agent. I'd like to see him. And there's even been talk. I think we talked last week about Ball. Lonzo would be in that deal with San Antonio.
But again, so what we talked about last week. I mean, how serious is this injury? I mean, and do you want a guy that doesn't even want to sit on your bench, right, during a playoff game? Like, I think they need to do their homework and do their research and find out, is this guy. Is he not a team player? Like, what's going on? I don't want to bring a cancer into this squad, but again, is he phenomenal? Yeah, I mean, he is. But are we going to go trade away a possible two great players to get Leonard, and then he plays half the season because he gets hurt again? I don't know. Like, I need to do more research and do more homework to find out. Yeah, he's a phenomenal defensive player and he's a great offensive player, but something's weird here, right?
Yeah, I really
So he doesn't want to go support the team on the bench like, the other guys do. And he doesn't even want to trust the team doctor. He wants to go off his other doctor, right? So
yeah, he's got his own
own plan.
Own medical.
So it's just a little weird there. So but I agree. If you put him on that team and he's all 100% and everything's good, that's a really Leonard, LeBron, and George, and then with these young, I mean, that's phenomenal stuff, right?
That'd be a great team. Like I say, we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. You guys are watching the playoffs?
Watched a little bit of it, but I mean, Toronto's got to win that game. I mean, they got to beat them. They're up by 13. They
were ahead the whole game.
Yeah, and you just. It's now desperation. You got to win that next game. Like you can't just be down 0-2 to LeBron. I mean, he'll find a way in 6 or 7 games to win those other 2 games, right?
He got a lot of help in that game too.
Right, he did.
5 other guys in double figures.
Right, but you gotta. You're the best team. You're a better team than them. You're up by 13. You got to be able to close that out, and that was just bad by Toronto. They got to win that game, and now they got to really win the next game.
They got to win the next one. They can't go to Cleveland down 2-0.
No, you can't. No.
It was nice to see Steph Curry come back last night. It was a nice performance.
Yeah.
Played about 27 minutes. And
boy, Green just gets in guys' heads, doesn't he? Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's Mr. Psychologist.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah.
He's a trash talker.
They're just so deep. It's stupid
good.
If they're all healthy, it's...
people talking about Houston. Houston had a nice season, but Houston will have the home floor. They had the best record in the West, but you're not going to beat Golden State.
I don't think so. I mean, you got 4 shooters on that team.
Yeah.
So
I don't think.
Or
Houston,
3 legitimate shooters, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Houston was. I don't think Houston would beat them. I know you guys are hockey fans.
Like I said, I just...
That was a great Winnipeg game last night.
Yeah,
I'll tell you right now, I got into that when it was 3-3.
Yeah.
And watched the finish of it.
That's a heck of a team they beat, Nashville.
Oh, yeah. They're up 3-0.
Yeah.
And Rene almost went through the roof screaming at the referee there, and then got in his face. Referee got right back in his face about the I talked to somebody today. He's like, he should have just threw his helmet off.
Yeah.
He just should have thrown it off.
Yeah.
But I get it's so loud in there. You can't hear anything.
It's crazy. And the Jets fans, they target. They always go after one guy, and they were just they were relentless last night. And, it was just fun to watch. I mean, just crazy to watch them go out there and the whiteout, the whole the whole thing, to see that like I said, that for that town, it's really exciting.
Yeah, that was a good. The Pittsburgh Washington's a pretty good series.
Yeah, that kid's out now with a concussion and a broken jaw. Yeah, I thought it was a clean hit.
Did he get a 3-day suspension?
I don't know. So I just watched it last night, so I didn't know what happened this morning. I didn't get caught up with what's going on.
He definitely got suspended. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So.
But, there's some good games there. Any? We got the Vince said you got to talk about the Derby.
I didn't. Yeah, the Derby's this weekend. I didn't do any homework on it. It looks right here that Justify is your 3-1 favorite. Audible's an 8-1 favorite, and then you have Mendelssohn, which is a 5-1, and you have Magnum Moon, which is 6-1. So, when you're looking at this, I usually, it's hard to win from the inside. There's
who's on 20, who's on the horse though.
Yeah, see, I didn't get that. I just got some odds real quick, I just know that it's usually your 6 horse to your 16 horse, 15 horse that usually wins it. But I don't know. I know that first, second, and third, right, is 50-1, 31, fourth is 31. So the first one that has any odds is the 5 horse, right, which is Audible. So it's really hard because there's 20 horses that just go like this, right?
Yeah.
So usually if you don't break really well and be able to hold on the lead, you get stuck in a pile of a bunch of horses and mud in your face. So again, I didn't even see what the weather report's going to be like, but the running for the roses is always a great thing.
It's always a good event.
So I didn't have enough time to do research on who's on what.
Vinny will be proud.
Right, exactly. Vinny can break it down when we come back.
All right, I think that will do it for tonight. Any closing thoughts from either one of you guys?
Yeah, it's good to see you again. Yeah.
Good to be back.
Yeah.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Crash Davis is proud that you came back. Yeah. So.
All right, then we are out.
Peace.